Well, good afternoon, Lori. How are you today?
Good. How's it going by you?
Doing well, thank you. And I'm so happy that we're able to do this today. And I'm very
Same
excited
here.
to speak with you. As you know, this is Rare Awareness Radio, and we are joined by Laurie Boyer. Laurie, welcome. Welcome. It's great to
Thank
great
you.
to see you today. I know we had a chance to talk a couple of times, but it's nice to see you. And how's your summer going so far?
Fast and furious. I have two teens, and so they keep me very busy during the summertime.
Yeah, yeah. They're probably just as busy during the summer as they are during the school year, right? I'm sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's exciting. That's great. Well, Lori, this is so fabulous because, as you know, um, you're part of an ongoing series that we have around myositis, all the different opportunities that we've had to speak with caregivers and care partners and researchers and physicians and foundations. And so this is just a wonderful way to kind of culminate all of these conversations we've been having over the last several weeks and months around myositis and leading into big myositis conferences you and I were just talking about. So again, I'm just absolutely thrilled to have you here today. Maybe we'll start with you just kind of saying hello, kind of introducing yourself to our audience. That would be helpful.
Sure. Hey, everyone. My name's Laurie Boyer, and I am the board chair for the Myositis Association. I've been involved with them since my brother's passing in 2012. So technically, I think we started speaking that September, but then I got to start to do some work with them that following spring in 2013. And I'm down here in Florida. And so, yes, my summers include a little more pool time than during the regular year, but um, just happy to be here and really appreciate the work that you guys are doing by helping to elevate the voice of the myositis community with, different perspectives. I think that's really important for people to understand, especially any disease process that's rare. Anytime you can get the word out, that's amazing.
Well, thank you. That's what we're trying to do, right? Obviously,
Mm.
as much advocacy and awareness as we possibly can do. Um, 2012, 2013. So you're coming up on 12, 13 years now with
Yes.
this. That's quite outstanding. And I'm glad you mentioned your brother.
Mhm.
Yeah, I know he had a journey, as you said, associated
Sure.
with dermatomyositis and myositis. I always want to throw the extra syllable in there.
That's
Um,
okay.
and I know that kind of led your family to kind of, like you said, do the work in his memory. Can you share a little bit more about your brother?
Oh, sure, I'd love to.
Yeah.
Actually, yesterday was his angelversary, that's what we
Oh,
call it here in my family. So it's been 13 years since his passing from dermatomyositis. He actually had, what they found to be, um, amyopathic, dermatomyositis with interstitial lung disease. He had the rare autoantibody, which is called MDA5, which can, and not anything I say, it's never that it's 100%
sure.
definitive because everyone's a unique individual and affects people, different ways, but it
Mhm,
can sometimes, have aggressive lung progression, and so
mhm,
that unfortunately is ultimately, what took his life, but the biggest thing with my brother's journey, and I think, what really resonated most in my family's heart is that, we relocated from we're about 2 hours north of Miami, and we
okay.
went down to Miami at the University of Miami Research Hospital, and we stayed there. We stayed by his side. We didn't want
Mhm,
anyone, him to be alone in the hospital,
mhm,
and it's really important because on your care journey, those who are in your life, it is important to have them, at appointments or at, talking when you're with different physicians and sharing because it's a lot to take in, right? And you
mhm,
don't necessarily feel your best, and so, essentially with him, we were down there by his side, and he had a very, um fast progression with it, and so, like, February, he started not feeling well, and he was a healthy 39-year-old male who,
right, right.
worked out every day and things of that
Mhm,
nature, but he started to have, some of the skin aspects of it
mhm,
and kinda felt like he had the flu, so, he went to urgent care and things of that nature and, then to specialists, and throughout that time, different, aspects of the disease started showing face, such as, papules on his knuckles, and then he was getting the purple on his eyelids and things of that nature. So when we finally got to the specialist called a, a dermatologist,
sure.
she was able to say, "You know what? I think this is what you might have. Don't
Mhm,
Google it. and let's biopsy. And so essentially, that's what she did, and she diagnosed him with dermatomyositis, but unfortunately, he did take medication at that time, and that greatly improved his mobility because since it is a muscular disease, it really, impeded his ability to rise from a chair. So if you're a healthy 39-year-old, that's devastating, you also have to think about the mental toll that it takes on individuals when they fall ill as well. So,
Mm,
that helped his muscular issues, but unfortunately his lung progression, y it's just started to progress, and so
too
that's
much.
why we had to see the specialist, yeah.
Yeah.
And so, we went down to University of Miami Research Hospital, and it really was the biggest blessing for us because, you know, with any rare disease, it's rare, and then you have
Mhm.
specialists that are specializing in so many different things, but when you're at a research hospital or a multidisciplinary center for healthcare, it really is helpful because then you could have rheumatologist and dermatologist and pulmonologist all speaking together about the care that an individual needs. And so, that was one of the biggest, learnings from his, experience that we took away, and definitely, share that with others, no matter if they're starting out on their myositis journey or, well into it.
One of the things that I've learned through this
Mhm.
journey of speaking with so many folks like yourself is that it really does take this interdisciplinary, multi sort of specialty care approach to this. Like you said, he dealt with interstitial lung disease, so pulmonology and
Yes.
dermatology and critical care medicine and rheumatology. It to me has been truly amazing to learn so much about how this interdisciplinary coordinated care approach for these patients is so critical, Lori, right?
Absolutely, and then
Yeah.
even gastroenterology too, because if your system is imbalanced, and then you're taking medications and things on top of that, it definitely impacts your, gut
Mm,
microbiome, and that's really important too to your overall functioning.
mm. Well, what a beautiful thing that you're doing to honor your brother's memory
Thank
and
you.
bless his memory. Um, so it's kind of a big it's an opportunity certainly to get involved with something like the Myositis Association, which you've done, but it's a
Sure.
whole different thing to kind of step into the role of the chairperson of the association.
Yes.
Is that in your nature, Lori? Are you a leader by nature? I mean, how did you kind of get involved at the chairperson level?
Yeah. If I take a step back and reflect, yes, I think I truly do have some leadership, within me.
Yeah.
I've always been an athlete myself when I was younger, and then,
Yeah.
so I enjoyed leading teams, and then
Mhm.
in my professional career, just kind of took down that path too. I strongly believe in servant leadership, and so I
Mhm.
think that when this opportunity arose to step into the vice chair role and learn under a wonderful leader, who was Dave Mokel at the time, I definitely said, "Yes, I think it's time," because, I we started a foundation to help families, with financial assistance when my brother passed because we knew that, you know, s it's such a strain on families, whether it's additional medications or you're just trying to pay your mortgage bill or
Yeah, you can't
whatever it
work. Yeah.
is, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you're greatly impacted in so many ways, and we were able to help people, and then when the opportunity arose to join the board, I thought, "You know what? I had to really take a deep breath and think it
Mm,
through and talk with my family, because that
mhm.
impacts the time that I can share with my loved ones as well, and, it is all volunteer oriented. And so, I talked with them and then said, "You know what? This is an opportunity to make an impact on a global level," and to me, that was important to be able to help raise awareness and share about myositis and make an impact in myositis. And I feel like after being a board member for a couple of years, when this opportunity arose, I thought, you know what? If I can work with the wonderful leader and executive director and Paula and the other wonderful board members and executive committee members and so many of the great organizations out there and specialists that are working so hard, so hard to make a difference in the lives of those with myositis, then I absolutely thought it was time for me to, rise up to that challenge. So I'm in year two of that, and grateful for the opportunity and just working hard to help make an impact.
Are you on like a term? Laurie? Is that how it
I
works? Will
am.
you? Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
So where are you in your term?
So I will be the board chair through the end of this year, and then starting in January, then I'll have a 2-year past immediate past chair role. So I'll still
Sure.
be a part of the executive committee and helping in that regard.
Yeah. So like the vice chair, sort of board elect, and then the chair, and then the immediate past. That's kind of how it works, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Exactly.
That's very good. You mentioned the community,
Hmm.
and you as a sibling and a caregiver. I know this kind of shaped your approach to advocacy for this particular disease. But also, one of the things I continue to notice about families like yours is you could be insular. You could worry about your own family and
Yeah.
just say like, I gotta do me. I gotta worry about.
Yeah.
But that is just not the refrain I see with
Correct.
families like yours. Talk
Yes.
to me about why that refrain is so important to you too, Lori.
I think it's so important because as a family, we are a tight knit family. We absolutely show up for one another, no matter if it's good times, bad times, and everything in between. And I think that the love and support that my brother received when he was in the hospital down there in Miami, it far stretched throughout the whole US. People from his
Mm.
childhood through his, professional career at the sheriff's office. Everybody reached out. Everyone did their part to let him know that they were there to support him no matter what
Mm.
it was.
Mhm.
And so we just thought that that outpouring of love is honestly what gave him a positive mindset every day, regardless of how bad it was.
Yeah.
It's the one who gave him a outlook for the future, and
Mhm.
it's what really kept all of us as a family moving forward. So, we just thought that it's really important that when tragedy happens, if you can make the best out of something that is totally tragic, it's definitely beneficial to so many because you can relate and you understand not only in your head, but also in your heart. And so I think that anytime that you can push that forward and move that forward, it really, really, helps others
Mm.
tremendously.
I appreciate that so much, and like you said, since he had that outpouring of support, naturally,
Yes,
you only feel obligated to do, like I said, to do the same, to pass on what you learned as a
yes,
caregiver, as a sibling, and have that influence your advocacy. And like I said, not think about, well, I just have to think about my family. I can't think about other people at this moment,
correct,
right? So yeah,
correct.
amazing. Um, we talked about how the Myositis Association's annual conference is coming up in a few
Yeah.
weeks now, just a few short weeks.
Phew.
I know, right?
There
So
goes
you're
summer.
getting ready, yeah. But from an initiatives perspective, what's
Mhm.
what are you and TMA working on right now that's got you kind of excited, Lori?
Sure. So God bless the TMA team. They are a small but mighty staff, and they are working so hard to
That
make it, a wonderful conference year after year. We're really excited. It's our 33rd conference. So, that's pretty impactful to know that people with myositis, from all over have been able to convene in person and, learn from the world's leading experts, connect with clinical trial opportunities, talk to the wonderful vendors that are out there that have medical devices and different things that they're able to share to the community to help them on their myositis journey.
Sure.
But I think most important is the fact that people get together in person and realize they're not alone.
They're not
You
alone.
could
Yeah.
say it all day long. I could see you online, but the fact that I can come together in person and hug someone who has, dermatomyositis or someone who has IBM, or someone who has been on the journey longer than you have, so
Mhm.
we have a lot of uh, newly diagnosed patients that come as attendees along with their loved ones. And it's a lot to take in. I'm not going to lie. I mean, I remember, the first conference I went to, I think I looked like a deer in headlights because my eyes were
Yeah.
just like so big and taking it all in. And,
The
you
emotional
know,
impact. Yeah.
very much so, but I think that, there's no way that your bucket isn't filled after attending a conference. To me, it's what especially for, like, myself and the board members, it's honestly what pushes us through every single day throughout the year to do what we're doing because we know and we can see in person how it's impacting others, and that's priceless.
Yeah, that is priceless. That is well,
Mhm.
I'm really looking forward to being there myself this year.
Yes, we're
Um,
excited to have you.
you talked about some of your leadership qualities and your leadership experience, maybe in spite of yourself, that brought you to your leadership role within TMA. You have had a full career in
Yes.
education and technology. Do your professional world and your advocacy worlds, do they intersect? Do they intertwine at all?
So, actually, I think that that's been a big blessing, an
Mm,
unexpected blessing in the sense that, because of those I've been in contact with in a professional manner, it's afforded me opportunities to share into other groups and entities that I normally wouldn't. So, right there, the opportunity to advocate for the myositis community and share out and raise awareness and, have call to actions and things of that nature, all of that has allowed people in other groups and other entities to understand like, "Oh, wow, this is a disease process that's rare."
yeah.
And it's something that I can help support, and there's a
Mhm.
person and a face that I can put to it. So,
Mhm.
um, it's always I always enjoy when I can, hop on a phone call with someone and, help them out if they're newly diagnosed or if they're family members looking for some information. But I think that, obviously sad because you don't want someone else to be diagnosed, with a myosite with one of the forms of myositis, but it's actually turned into, in our area across the 3 lake counties where I live, oftentimes I'll just get calls from people saying, "Hey, I know someone who was just diagnosed. Can you just talk to them and give them
Mm.
some advice?" And to me, I think that's probably what my brother would be, most proud of, that, like, the people could A, say dermatomyositis now
Yeah.
properly and, and understand what it looks like, and hopefully, through their understanding, they can help people to get the care that they need and the expertise that they need to get diagnosed properly and treated properly.
Yeah, once again, I really commend you for being able to take that phone call, right?
Thank you.
Make that connection to those folks. You mentioned your teens a couple seconds ago, and
Yes.
I talk to a lot of folks like yourself that are very involved in many facets, and
Yes.
there's no work life balance, right, Lori? It's
Right.
at best maybe a blend. I think I use
Yes.
the word blend more. What's your blend? How do you pull it off, Lori?
I think I always say that it's okay to be imbalanced for a period of time, right? So there's gonna be times in our life, like when the annual patient conference comes up. Am I absolutely dedicating more time to probably TMA at that
Sure.
point than, maybe my kiddos or my husband or my four-legged furry friend here at home? Absolutely, but it's okay because there's a end goal, in mind, and that's what we're working towards. And then uh, you know, the accomplishment from being able to make that happen and the impact is second to none. And so to me, it's absolutely worth having some imbalance, throughout like different times throughout your year in order to make a difference, um, for others. So whether that's with rare disease and myositis, or if that's in my professional career, or
Mhm.
if that's with my kids and the things that they're involved with, athletics and the arts, both of those, they take a lot of time, but I'm more than happy to show up. And I think that that's what's most important.
Yeah, I think as they always say, like showing up is 85% of it, right? As long
Absolutely.
absolutely, absolutely. You
And caffeine helps too. I ain't gonna lie.
That's very true. I know, that's
Mhm.
an issue for me as well.
Yeah.
You had said something earlier which kinda stuck in my brain, when your brother was first diagnosed and they said, "Don't Google it," right?
Yes.
Um, you know, uh, talk to me a little bit about, when you do interact maybe with these folks that are newly
Yes.
diagnosed, their patients, their families, they're trying to navigate this impact. How do you usually advise them, I guess? What advice do you give them?
So I think it's multifaceted, right? So yes, I think we are in a very digital world, and we honestly are going to Google it. We're going to chat
Sure.
GPT it. We're going
Right.
to, use the tools that are out there. But take it all with a grain of salt. And so what I mean by that is, as I was stating earlier, everyone's journey is very unique and individual. And
Mhm.
even if you have this specific antibody, or you're diagnosed with this specific version of myositis, it can look very different for Lori versus Richard, right? And
Mhm.
so keep that in mind, that that's very impactful to your journey. as much as possible, keeping a positive outlook on things is
Mhm,
helpful. Now, that's
mhm.
not to say we are human, we hurt, we get overwhelmed with things. Have a tear sesh, let it out. It's okay, but know that then you have to build a bridge and move past it and try to forge forward. And I think in order to be able to do that, it's really important to, have friends and family around, and not everyone is blessed with that,
Yeah.
unfortunately. And so that's why it's really great. The Myositis Association does offer support groups and
Mhm.
affinity groups that could be connected virtually. So it doesn't matter if you're in California or in Alaska. You can connect with other people who are going through, what you're going through. And so not only from a support aspect, but like our affinity groups, what's great is there's a commonality of everyone has a form of myositis, but then there's
Right.
another aspect that connects them, right? And so that might be flying solo. Like, I think
Mhm.
that's such a smart affinity group to have because you're saying that you live alone. You do not have someone in your house to be your live-in care partner. But so your support and what you want to talk about,
Yeah.
connects very well with others who are on that same flight, and
Mhm.
so I think that those are the biggest things, just know that your experience is individualized. Know that try to, be as positive as possible. Say that 3 times fast.
Yeah.
Along the journey and get support whether you have, a baked-in family and friends already or if you need to, venture out. But even if you do have friends and family, guess what? There's some things you wanna
They
talk
need more.
about with
Mhm.
those that, really truly can understand, not just empathize.
Right, right, yeah, someone else who's also in the literally in the exact same position that you are in.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
Exactly.
And the affinity, like you said, the affinity is so important. Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
Um, for just for a second too, I wanna ask you about a different entity. You
Sure.
wear, I noticed you have an infinity symbol around your
Oh,
neck.
yeah.
Is there something there behind that?
It actually it has, my kids' names and birthstones on it, so it's just
Oh,
unending, love
for
for
kids.
my
Oh, I love it.
kids,
I
yes.
love it. No, I
Forever
love
and
it.
ever.
We need affinity, but we also need infinity. So I
You
I love
got
that.
it.
I really love that. I love that.
Thank you.
Um, when you look ahead, with all the work that TMA is doing, you mentioned obviously there's this farmer that's involved here. I know there's always more research that's needed. There's always more funding that's needed.
Yes.
And there's more advancement that's required. But what gives you the most hope right now, Lori? That for folks that are in this position.
Sure. I think as a not-for-profit, I'm proud of the fact that we're, 33, years
Yeah,
old and
it's
and
crazy.
and move and continue to move forward. And I think that it's the next 30 years is what gives me the most hope. I think the founders and everyone who's come before me have done an amazing job setting such a strong foundation for an umbrella organization, that supports multiple forms of myositis.
Mm.
I'm very proud of that, but I'm super excited of what's to come in the future. And so, 2 years ago, I spent a lot of time looking through board applications and ensuring that we had the right members in place to continue to help grow the Myositis Association because the advocacy work, the research, the fundraising, all of that is so imperative in order for the education to be out there as well. Spreading the word about what is myositis and why it's so important that we're providing funding for research and for advocacy and getting, legislation involved. And so I think that the board is comprised of, great individuals at this point in time that have different strengths that they're bringing to the table, and I'm just really excited to see that continue to grow, as we move forward. And we're always looking for sorry, here's a little plug, but we're always looking for wonderful board members too. So if there's, an expertise that have that you think can be advantageous, to the board, please always feel free to reach out to me because I'd love to connect you with, the other board members and our vice chair too.
A number of advisory boards myself. I always
Mhm.
appreciate chair people like you who are taking the time to really curate the membership of the board, but then also thinking about like where is the board impactful? How does it become impactful? Right.
Yes.
A lot
Yeah.
of us don't want to join these boards just to sit on them and be told things, have information come at us. We want to be able to get our hands dirty and get into things and make an impact, right?
100%. And that's, even 2 years ago, stepping into this role, I said, we, went through a lot of different information and goal setting, things of that nature. But really, my ask was to have a future focus. Oftentimes in not for profit, you're keeping the doors open, you're doing mission driven work, you're working hard and you're in the moment. But my thought is, okay, we really have to have a future focus as to what we need to do in order to be impactful. And so I think you'll see our efforts in advocacy, continued efforts in research. And we've just been trying to redefine things, over the past 2 years, and especially with a wonderful, leader in Paula and, having her fresh perspective on things too. I think that, working together, we're only going to continue to get better. And the other thing we've been kind of proud, quite proud of this year too is, helping patients share their story,
Hmm.
so like we're doing here, through this opportunity, we're sharing stories, we're humanizing, one's journey, and we're also, helping others to understand how that, that ability to connect with us and understand like this is what we went through and this is what we're dealing with and this is why we are very passionate about, our mission driven work and what we're doing at TMA.
Yeah, and I appreciate that commitment to sustainability, Lori. So thank you for
Yeah.
that. Like, let's get
Yeah.
another 30 years, right?
Yes,
And
yes.
and the storytelling is so important, right?
Absolutely.
We have to tell those stories. We have to give people that medium to tell their stories, and that's what we're doing here. So thank you.
And thank you.
Um, so, folks, we have been speaking with Laurie Boyer, the chairperson of the Myositis Association. Let's get folks involved. What do they need to
Sure.
do to get involved, Laurie?
So first and foremost, we've worked a lot over the last 2 years on our communication and
Hmm.
ensuring that we're connecting with the community. And so I would highly encourage you to go to myositis.org, sign up to be a member.
Hmm.
It's free. You sign up online, and that's how you stay informed. We let you know what's going on. We share out our quarterly publications. All of that is what makes a difference. And then in there, oftentimes we have different calls to actions, or we let you know if there's a special fundraising campaign, or if we need volunteers, to try and get proclamations and share out why Myositis Awareness Month is important. When I started with the Myositis Association and volunteering back in the day, I remember being excited because we had Myositis Awareness Day in
Hmm.
September. That's all we had. We did not have a
Right.
month of
One day.
celebrating and
Yeah,
recognizing and understanding and raising, the voice of the myositis community. So, just in that 13-year time frame, I can see changes happen, in that front. And so no act is too small in order to be impactful to others.
I like that. No act is too small, right?
Correct.
Absolutely, right.
Correct.
Myositis.org. We encourage folks to
Yes.
go there, become members, as Lori said. Lori, this has been a pleasure. Thank you for honoring us with your brother's story, honoring
Absolutely.
us with your time today, just carving out a few minutes to tell us your story and get folks excited and involved in what you're doing. So thank you once again. We really appreciate it,
Appreciate it.
Lori.
Thank you so much, Richard. Have a great day.
You too.